So my name is Pax Haymeyer. I'm the Director of Academic Programs here at Stanford Online and the Stanford Center for Professional Development. What that means, I'll go into in a little bit more detail, but I'm joined here today by my colleague Petra Parakova, who will introduce herself and get us started. So Petra, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Great, thank you so much, Pax. So my name is Petra Parikova, and I'm the Associate Director for our Artificial Intelligence and Computer Science portfolio, and I'm leading the AI Professional Program. And today we will be talking to you, both Pax and myself, about kind of the AI portfolio that we have as part of Stanford Online. But we will be focusing specifically about, on the AI graduate program that Pax will be covering, and also on the AI professional program that I will be covering. But we just wanted you to know that we also have some other resources available as part of Stanford Online. We have other programs and courses such as machine learning specialization that is hosted on Coursera, building AI-enabled organization that is more kind of geared towards business leaders, also AI in healthcare for people in kind of healthcare and medicine. And we also have a lot of free content available on YouTube, and we also organize webinars like this. So you have a chance kind of to also learn for free in case some of this content might be a little bit out of your price range. But yeah, today we will be focusing on the graduate program and professional program, and Pax will kick us off with the graduate one.
Great. Thanks, Petra. And again, as a reminder, already see a lot of great questions coming in. We encourage you to ask questions throughout. We're covering a lot of material. And again, if you have to leave or you have a colleague who might be interested, we'll send a recording out about a week later from today. So thank you again for joining us. I'm going to cover some of the details about the AI graduate certificate, and in general, the credit-bearing programs that are available through SCPD. And so one thing, actually, before I jump into this, one thing to note is we are having another informational session that is just focusing on the credit-bearing programs that are available through the Stanford Center for Professional Development. That will be happening next Friday at 10 a.m. So you can sign up, just go to Stanford Online, and at the bottom of our webpage, you should see sign up for that session. You can sign up and register there. And so if we don't get to any of your questions here, or you want to find out more, I really encourage you to join that session. It will also be recorded, and you'll also be able to find a recording of that. So Stanford is not totally unique, but it's pretty unique in that it opens up some of its graduate courses that are happening on campus to professional learners as online courses. And what that means, I'll go into in a little bit more detail. But just at a high level, some of those courses can roll up into what is the AI graduate certificate. So this is an accredited certificate that you can earn on the topic of artificial intelligence. Each course in the certificate is going to be between $4,500 and $6,000. So it is expensive. It's on a per unit basis. The tuition is in a per unit. And so the cost of each course will depend on which courses you're taking. The typical people who are interested in the AI graduate certificate, as opposed to, say, the professional certificate, or interested in just watching the lectures online. So we kind of have three profiles of people who like to take these courses. There are obviously a lot more profiles, but three broad profiles are people who are interested. I see some questions about graduate. I do see some questions about graduate school or master's degree. So there are people who are interested in sort of trying out or testing out graduate school. So these are the actual classes that are happening on campus. So if you're unsure about whether or not graduate school is right, or you're not sure if you're really interested in or what you're going to gain from it, this is a great way to take a single course or try to earn a certificate. So that's one profile of student. They're interested in a master's degree. As I will talk about and mention later, if you do get into a master's program at Stanford, you can apply up to 18 units that you earned through this program towards the master's degree. Another profile of people who are just missing, maybe you are already someone who's working on artificial intelligence, but perhaps you're just missing one particular piece. Maybe you've done a lot of implementation and you understand machine learning, but you don't really know natural language processing. So you're just interested in a single course. That's also totally fine. You do not need to pursue the certificate. You could take that one course. And, you know, a third kind of profile would be people who maybe they don't want the master's degree and they don't need a single course, but they are interested in a credential that is around AI that's a little bit more in depth than a single course, but not quite as in depth as a whole master's degree. Maybe a student who already has a master's degree or already has a PhD. That's also fairly typical. So they're not interested in going back to graduate school. They need a little bit more than a single course. So they pursue this graduate certificate or a similar one that we offer in order to sort of put together a course of study that's focused, but also in depth. So that was a lot. I'm going to repeat a lot of that as I go through in more detail. So these are the courses that are currently part of the AI graduate certificate. You have to take 4 to earn the certificate. But again, as I will say it later, you don't need to take all 4 courses. You don't need to earn the certificate. You could take a single course if that's all you're interested in. I won't go through all of them, but this is generally a subset of all the courses that are offered at Stanford on artificial intelligence, mostly in the computer science department, though we do have some courses here from the aero and astronautics department, as well as statistics. So you can see there covers a lot of material here, including the foundational concepts, as well as things related to robotics, natural language processing, and vision. So, as I mentioned earlier, these are the actual classes that are happening on campus, right? So our schedule follows the campus schedule. So when a class is offered on campus, if we can make it happen with the department and the faculty, we will also offer it online. That's not every course that's happening on Stanford's campus, but a subset of them. So they do follow the academic calendar. So if a course is offered in autumn quarter at Stanford, we would offer it in autumn quarter. What we do is we work with we have a course production staff and special rooms where we schedule those classes that are happening on campus in those rooms. And then we record the lectures. We post them to Stanford's LMS, or Learning Management System, which is Canvas. For you as an online student, you are doing all the same material. You're covering all the same assignments. You're responsible for all the same stuff that's happening on campus. But you would be doing most of that online. You'd be watching those lectures that we record. In most cases, there's some kind of discussion board that all students are posting to, like Ed or Slack, where they're asking questions and the teaching team is responding to those questions, or other students responding to those questions. You'll have, depending on the course, a mix of written, programming assignments, projects, and exams and quizzes, just as you would in any normal graduate class. You will be responsible for completing all of those. In most cases, if there's a project, in most cases, you can work with students on Stanford students or other online students. And for the exams, we can get into that more detail. Probably, if you really want to get into the details, we can offer. You should come to our one next Friday, on the 23rd, and we'll go into more detail how exams work for online classes. But you would take exams. You usually have to use a testing center or something like that because they are often in-person exams. Office hours will be held online. You'll have some office hours that are available online. They usually, in the bigger classes, try and do a range of times, right? Because we recognize many of you are going to be working 9 to 5, or you might be in a different time zone. But again, you would join office hours often through Zoom or something like that, and you would talk with the TA or the faculty member if they're offering office hours. So it is the same class that's happening on campus. It's just being extended to online learners like yourself. And that is a feature and a bug, I would say, right? The feature, the opportunity there is that this is the same material. There's no different. There's no dumbing down. There's no cutting things out. You are doing exactly what the Stanford students are doing. The challenge is, of course, there is an on-campus audience and an online audience, and you cannot turn to the person next to you in the lecture hall to ask a question, to follow up, to start a project group. You have to do a little bit more to reach out, make contact with the teaching team, to meet other students, but there are plenty of opportunities to do that, not only through the classes themselves, but also through things that we offer in SCPD, including regular orientations every quarter, a dedicated Slack channel that you can join, as well as online and in-person mixers if you're local. So for doing that, you will earn a Stanford transcript. You will have a Stanford transcript. You do get a grade in the class. You for the most part, have to take them for a grade. And as I mentioned earlier, if you were admitted into a Stanford master's degree program, you could apply, and I see I have a typo there, 3 Ps, but that's great for emphasis. You have to apply, you can apply up to 18 units towards the master's degree. It would have to be relevant units, right? So if you were admitted into a master's degree in the humanities and you had 18 units of computer science, it may not apply to that master's degree. But if you were admitted into the CS master's degree and you had taken 18 units through CS, then most likely the department would approve those to apply towards the master's degree. Finally, I want to mention that one way this is possible is it's not a program the way a master's degree program is. And again, this is a feature that allows a lot of flexibility, meaning you're not admitted into a program. You apply, and I'll go into what's involved in that application, and your application is reviewed every time you take a class. And as you take classes, you need to earn a B or better to keep taking those classes and or to have them count towards the certificate. And so it's kind of a course by course thing. As you move through, you're approved for your next, you apply to be enrolled in the next course. The department reviews it, and based on your on-file application and your Stanford transcript, your growing Stanford transcript, hopefully, you're approved for that next course. So again, this is a feature and it allows a lot of flexibility. So unlike a master's degree, if you're coming back to those profiles, unlike a master's degree, there's not the same level of commitment. There's not the same level of commitment across a year, right? So each individual course is quite intensive. They can be up to 15 to 25 hours of work across 10 weeks because it's a quarter. But you can enroll any quarter that a course is offered. So if you want to take a course this spring, our enrollment for spring is open right now. But if you don't, you can apply in the summer or the fall or the winter. Anytime a course you're interested in is offered, you can apply to take a course. You do not need to pursue a certificate. You do not need to pursue a particular course of study. As long as you're doing well enough and you continue to be approved, you can take individual courses. You could take any individual courses that you want that we're offering. You can take them outside the certificate. You can pursue multiple certificates. You can really sort of tailor it to what you want to study and when you want to study. You also don't need to be continuously enrolled. So unlike a master's degree where once you're admitted, you have to take, basically have to take courses every single quarter until you graduate, unless you file for a leave of absence. In this one, you do not need to be. So maybe you say, hey, this sounds great. I'm going to take a course this spring. And you're like, wow, that's a lot of work. Can't take one this summer, but I'll maybe take one next winter. That's totally fine with us. You can take one next winter. Again, you have to, you submit an enrollment request, your application's on file, they review it, they review your Stanford transcript, and then they would approve or reject based on that. So again, there's a lot of flexibility there because we know most of you are working professionals. You have a full-time job. And these courses you're going to have to fit in, and maybe you have families that you're supporting, all sorts of other things going on in your life. So you do not need to be continuously enrolled. So if you go back to those profiles, maybe it's someone, again, who's not interested or in a full master's degree. They can't take 2 years to just dedicate or to a master's degree, but they occasionally want to take a course on the state of the art in something, whether it's artificial intelligence or quantum computing. And so this is one way to do that. If you are interested in the certificate, however, the one caveat here is you do need to finish the coursework within 3 years. So if you want to earn the AI certificate, you need to complete all the courses you're going to count towards that certificate within 3 years. Now, as I mentioned, we'll be doing a session on all our programs, and so it's worth mentioning here that if you don't feel that you're ready for the artificial intelligence programs, and I'll go into the prerequisites next, we do have other certificates. We do have other courses that cover a range of levels. From introductory programming to the foundations of computer science. They'll cover most of the background that you would need, with the exception of perhaps some math, depending on where your background in mathematics is. And I see some good questions here, but I think maybe I'll pause at the end of mine before I hand off to Petra, and I'll take in some of those. So let's go over what those prerequisites are, and they're going to be similar, and what the application would look like. So for the artificial intelligence certificate, and again, it can vary by course, it can vary by the certificates, you're going to basically need an undergraduate GPA of a 3.0 or better. If you're, this GPA, this kind of baseline requirement is set at the department level. So depending on the course's home department, it could be higher. So aero and astronautics courses have a minimum GPA of 3.5. But the majority of the courses in the artificial intelligence certificate are through the CS department, the computer science department. So they ask for an undergraduate GPA of 3.0 or better. You're going to need a strong math background. So that's multivariable calculus and linear algebra. You're going to need probability theory, usually a post-calculus probability theory class or an advanced probability theory class, and you're going to need strong programming experience. Not all of these need to be from your undergraduate or graduate. For instance, I'll go into this in the application. If you're not a CS major, but you work as a programmer and did a boot camp and you have 3 years of programming experience, that can help count towards meeting those prerequisites. So with that in mind, what is the application like? So again, it's not like applying for a master's degree. There is an application. It is more intensive than what you have to do for the professional program, and Petra will go into that. But you will go to our website, you'll create an account, you'll submit a non-degree option application. That's what this program is called. Involved in that is a basic statement of purpose. I'm going to come back to what's involved in that. We need to have some personal information and residency documents. It's going to depend on where you are, whether you're in the US or outside the US. We want to know your professional background as well as your undergraduate background or your educational background. For the educational background, we do need official transcripts. We need to be able to review your official transcripts for your undergraduate and your graduate degrees. In the statement of purpose, so I know we get a lot of questions about this. This isn't like if you apply to a college in the US where you have to, you spend like, depending on who you are, how seriously you take it, maybe you spend a lot of time writing this really creative essay about who you are. Our statement of purpose is very straightforward. We want to know why you're interested in pursuing these classes. And we also want to know, we want you to have a chance to sort of articulate why you're qualified. Now, a lot of that will be in your professional experience and your educational background, but this is a chance for you to highlight either those elements that might not be self-evident in those, but also to provide additional context. So for instance, coming back to the example I said before, maybe you're interested in AI, maybe you have a bachelor's degree in mathematics, but you don't have programming in any of your bachelor's degree. But here you might say, look, I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics. I've taken math up through calculus of several variables and linear algebra. Although I never took a programming class as an undergraduate, when I graduated from college, I went to a boot camp, and I've worked for the last 3 years as a back-end developer for this startup in Fresno or something. And so you can provide that kind of that detail here. And that's what we're looking for. So it does not need to be a piece of creative writing. It's just very straightforward. Why are you interested and why are you qualified? And again, it's an opportunity for you to provide that context that might not be self-evident in your transcripts or in your professional experience. And then finally, you submit the application, we keep it on file. We do not review it until, it's the departments who review it. It's not reviewed until you submit a request to enroll in a course. So once you submit a request to enroll in a course, then we send your application over to the department. They will review it, review what course you're asking to enroll in. They'll say, oh, this person is qualified for this. And then they will improve that enrollment. Then you'll join the course whenever it starts the following quarter. One other thing I'll add, because we know it is a big financial commitment to enroll in the course, and you do pay when you submit that enrollment request. You get a full refund if you drop the course before the quarter starts. And then once the quarter starts, you have, depending on the quarter, you have up to the third week in autumn, winter, or spring, or you have up to the second week in summer, typically, to drop the class. And if you drop the class at that point, you can get a full refund minus a $100 drop or processing fee. So, you say you enroll in the course, you start, it's the first week of class, you're just like, whoa, this is a lot more than I thought it would be. You can still drop the course and you can get a full refund. So there is that opportunity. And because we also know that you're working professionals and you have lives outside of school. I mean, that's the whole point of this, that things come up. So maybe you have this is a typical thing that we hear. It's the second week of the quarter and someone says, hey, look, my manager just put me on this big project, or we're going public in 3 weeks and I can't do this anymore. Fine, you can drop the course. After that drop deadline, however, we can't issue a refund, and that's not our policy. That's just a university policy. It applies to every Stanford student. So that was a ton of information. I'm going to, before I hand it over to Petra, I had a couple questions, and maybe one that is a nice segue is this relationship between the graduate and the professional program. So the graduate courses are credit-bearing. You're earning a Stanford transcript. The professional programs are not credit-bearing. You do not earn a Stanford, an official Stanford transcript. You do earn credential. So if you've taken, so the relationship is, which is all kind of to lay out the differences. If you take a graduate course and then you decide that it's too intensive and you want to do the professional program, one graduate course can count towards the professional certificate. If you've taken the professional program and you want to now pursue the graduate certificate, you can place out, these professional courses can count towards some of the prerequisites. And in addition, if you look closely for the graduate certificate, you need to take either machine learning or foundations of artificial intelligence. You have to take one of those. That's the required courses, and then you take 3 electives. If you've already taken one or both of those courses as part of the professional program, you can place out of that requirement and just take 4 electives. So what we see are, for instance, people who do the foundational work in the professional program and then go to the graduate program to take a specialized electives, because we have a larger selection of courses in the graduate certificate. So that's one profile we have. The other profile is someone who takes a graduate course, decides they don't have the time or the commitment to really do the graduate level courses, or they're just not interested in the grade part, it's too stressful. And then they switch to the professional program, and they already have that course that counts towards it. All right, so I will pass it off to Petra from here.
Thank you, Pax. I think there are a few questions that might be interesting for people to kind of know about. Should we leave it to the end? About the graduate program specifically.
Which ones do you want to go ahead and highlight them? And I might have.
Yes. So there was a question about what if I don't have a degree from a US university, or what if I don't have a degree in math or like kind of computer science? Great. What does it mean for me?
Those are great questions. So first of all, you don't need to be in the US to take these courses, right? They are online courses. Second of all, you do not need a degree from a U.S. university. We will need a translated copy of your transcripts. So, for instance, if you're coming from an overseas university and your transcripts in another language, we'll need a translation of that. But we have students from all over the world, and we have a lot of students who are here in the U.S. but who got their degrees from outside the U.S. I'd say that is a fourth kind of profile. Is sometimes we have people. And this was, I think, truer 10 or 15 years ago when the workforce here was a little bit less international in the Bay Area. But we have people who are coming from outside the U.S. Maybe they just, their home degree is not as recognized. I mean, everyone knows they have a bachelor's degree, but they want a credential from a local school that is well known. So they pursue this credential. So that's totally fine. We just need a copy of your transcript. You don't need to have a STEM background, right? So you don't need to have a bachelor's degree in math or computer science or anything. That said, you will need to meet the prerequisites for the course. So typically the people who meet those prerequisites will have a STEM background. But for instance, if you were an English major, but you had an undergraduate degree, a minor in computer science, that would probably be, would meet most of the prerequisites. So you don't need to have a math background, but you will need to have you don't need to have a math degree or a CS degree or a mechanical engineering degree or an AA degree or an EE degree, but you will need to in some way demonstrate that you meet the prerequisites for the course. And again, in general, at a high level across the program, and the requirements could be different for individual courses, you will need to have calculus through multivariable calculus. So that's, if you're in the US, that's a calculus course beyond BC calculus. If you know AP BC, it's one more course after that. You'll need to know linear algebra. You will need to know, and you'll have to have a strong programming background, and you'll need to know probability, preferably with a kind of a post-calculus probability class. If you don't have that background, there are a lot of resources that you can use to sort of build that up. In some cases through self-study, though, it may be easier to demonstrate that ability if you do it through another school or another kind of online learning or learning platform. So community colleges often have really strong courses in the foundational math. We also offer courses in these foundational topics. So for instance, this spring we have a class on multivariable calculus and linear algebra that you could enroll in or submit an application and a request to enroll in. And then for the programming background, we have lots of computer science classes. So if you're interested in sort of building up your computer science background, you could certainly do that through our courses. So again, I'll make one more plug. Next Friday, February 23rd, so not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow, we will be doing a similar informational session just focused on credit-bearing programs writ large. So all our offerings, and that includes, that'll give you a chance to ask more questions and dig into more detail about the experience, as well as to learn more about the breadth of our offerings.
Great, thank you so much, Pax. So I will take it on right now, and I will be talking to you more about the professional program. So right now we listened to kind of the details about the graduate program. Now we are going to talk about the professional one, which is largely based on the classes that are included within the AI graduate program, but there are some distinctions that are very specific to this. So I will be covering those. You see a little bit of an overview of what's going on here. We call it instructor pace, and I saw some questions kind of in the Q&A about this. This means basically that we have structured assignments with deadlines, but it doesn't mean the instructor is kind of teaching the class. Everything is pre-recorded. You can access everything online. Just you're kind of submitting the assignments within specific deadlines. And in terms of the time commitment, and we will be kind of giving you an overview also at the end, time commitment is lower in this case, and we are talking about 10 to 15 hours a week. It depends, right? Like it depends on your prior knowledge and experience. Some people are kind of closer to the 10 hours. Some people are even spending much more than this. So I can't make a promise it will be 10 to 15 hours a week, but it will be less than in the graduate program. In terms of how we achieve this, this is basically based on the fact that we are often removing the project portion of the graduate class. We are also kind of streamlining some of the assignments to include more autograders to like kind of cover the core of the assignment. We also like don't have any final exams as part of our classes. So there is additional flexibility in terms of that. So this is how we are able to achieve that. Also, our classes are kind of reviewed and edited for their length. So we kind of remove all the classroom logistics. We kind of remove most of the questions unless they are relevant for the content. So that already kind of helps us with narrowing down the content. So this is how we achieve that. But the content itself is based on the graduate course lectures, and the classes are not meant to be easier. So if you are like talking about less of a time commitment, more flexibility, this is more meant for people who are still interested in kind of the graduate level of the content, but they are actually would like appreciate more flexibility with the fact that they are not getting kind of the graduate certificate and the graduate credit, because these are for the professional certificates. I will kind of move on, but this is kind of in a nutshell a little bit of the differences. Right now, we have 8 courses within the portfolio. If you kind of look into the names, and I know it's a little bit small, you see they are basically the same as in the graduate program. So in the graduate program, Pax was talking about CS221, Artificial Intelligence Principles and Techniques. I'm talking about XCS221, Artificial Intelligence Principles and Techniques. Again, the content is largely the same, but we work on kind of streamlining, editing it, and providing you with more flexibility in terms of kind of achieving and learning from this. From this portfolio, what I would point out are a couple of interesting facts. One of them is that the last class in this list is XCS236 Deep Generative Models. We are just developing this, and this is a very brand new class that we are adding to the portfolio this coming April. So, we haven't run this before, which might also mean there will be some bugs to kind of take care of. But at the same time, we are very excited that we are finally able to kind of deliver this content to you. And the other one, and we get this question very frequently, it's about, I don't know where to start. I don't know what's the difference between the classes. Like, what do you recommend? I think the first one here in the list of the courses, which is called Artificial Intelligence Principles and Techniques, is a great place to start. And this class is starting in the beginning of March. And I definitely recommend if you're kind of, I think I have the right background, I will apply, I am interested, but I'm not sure where to go. This class can give you a good idea on also how to go where to go next, and can provide you with kind of the necessary knowledge and experience. There will be 6 assignments. It will be a busy class, but I think the assignments are also quite fun to be working on. And usually this class is one of our largest ones, together with kind of the XCS224N NLP with deep learning, which is the second one kind of in the list, which for obvious reason is right now very popular. So these 2 things I would point out. If you're like, I just, all the classes are up to date, of course, but like, I just want kind of the newest, what is available. I want to kind of work with the team on like the newest, and the backs is the deep generative models. If you are like, I'm not sure where to start with, like, I think XCS 221 Artificial Intelligence Principles and Techniques can be a good course. And now let's go into the details. So as I talked to you about, all courses are directly based off graduate level equivalents. There are recorded lectures with Stanford faculty, so you can imagine people like Percy Liang or Dorsa Sadi kind of delivering the content in the graduate classroom, and we kind of edit it, streamline it. We work on the assignments, add additional kind of guidance and autograders, and you are watching this online. And they are all structured as 10-week cohorts with, we say 120 learners to kind of keep it at the minimum, but right now the classes are even much higher in their attendance, so you will definitely have a chance to meet people who work in similar fields on similar subjects, and you will be able to interact with them. Of course, you don't have to, but there will be some chances to do this. The assignments, again, there's no final exam. We remove the projects with the exception of XCS 224U and LU class. But other than that, it's a mix of written and programming assignments, and we are usually kind of skewing all of this towards the programming ones. And you will be completing them, getting points, and hopefully succeeding. And you will be getting support. We obviously don't expect you to know everything and like have all the answers to this. Otherwise, you would probably not need our classes. But you will be getting support from our industry experience course facilitators who are basically teaching assistants and who are supporting the subject matter and content-related questions in this case. We also have a Slack community, which is pretty vibrant. I would say people are asking questions about the assignments. Right now, we have some people who would like to meet up in person, kind of separately from our offering. Like, there's a lot of kind of chances to connect and interact and learn from each other also. And, when I showed you this list previously, you can decide to take one course. And maybe that's it. Maybe you're just interested in one specific subject. But if you take 3 of them, which is the case over here, you will be getting a professional certificate in artificial intelligence. And I'm apologizing for clicking through, but maybe I will get there now. You will be getting kind of the professional certificate. There is also, as I mentioned, a little bit more flexibility in terms of the schedule. So we standardly have all the assignments open right from the beginning, and we have regular deadlines by which you're completing and late deadlines also. After the late deadlines, we don't allow any late submissions after that, but this already gives you more flexibility because you have usually multiple weekends available for your work. You can kind of work ahead behind in case you need to travel, which is sometimes a little bit more challenging in the graduate course, but it really depends on the graduate course you are taking. So we are including this additional flexibility besides kind of including more test cases and like more kind of autograder support for the assignments. And we are also scheduling kind of live calls, and you're able to kind of join the one-on-one sessions with your course facilitator, basically the TA. And what is also important to mention, you don't need 100% to pass the course. So Pax, when he was talking about kind of the minimum requirements, in this case, we are much more flexible. Again, this is the reason why we are able to offer professional certificate, but not the graduate credit. And I saw some questions about the pricing difference and kind of the difference in that. This is one big one. Like, we are not offering a graduate credit for this class, even though the content is largely the same. You will be getting a certificate if you pass, and you need 70%. So, again, additional flexibility in case you would like to cover the same content, but you don't need a credit, for other purposes. I will move on, and I see some questions. We will try our best to get to all of them, but I think generally in our experience, it's very hard to get to all of them, but we will do our best. Just a quick preview on how the written assignments look like. We present them in their original graduate level format, and you will actually need to do some written analysis and proof. So again, this won't be much easier, but we do include some additional hints and notes that could potentially help you out. For the programming ones, everything is pure Python. We require that you are very familiar with the Python before you even get started. This is not an introductory kind of program or introductory course. And I talked to you about the autograders and kind of the feedback you're getting for this. And I will move on to the community. Again, I told you a little bit about that, but basically we have a dedicated course facilitators or TAs with industry experience. and who also took the original graduate class, so they know it very much in depth, and they will be available to you through like Zoom calls and the Slack community. And I'm slowly wrapping up to prerequisites, and I will take a quick look also at the questions that are coming in the meantime. But for the prerequisites, again, this, we are offering flexibility in terms of 70% to pass the course. You have usually more time to work on the assignments. We make all of them available on the first week. You have like kind of more auto-grader and like test cases and all these kind of things. We also streamline some of the content, but still it's not easier. And I just want to make this very clear, like in terms of the content, it's still the same. So we have 3 core prerequisites: proficiency in Python, so you're able to work on those coding assignments; college calculus, linear algebra, and probability, so also that you get an understanding of the subject matter. I see some questions coming in about kind of how these classes run. Again, they are online. You can watch it on your own schedule. You will be getting access to all the lectures from the beginning of the course. And I think Pax maybe interrupt me while I'm like scrolling over through the Q&A if there's some question that I should be.
Sure. Maybe I'll go back over how the grad courses work. So unlike the professional courses, these are courses that are happening on campus real time. So you don't have all the lectures. Typically, you don't have all the lectures at the beginning of the quarter because they're being delivered across the quarter. As they are delivered on campus, we're recording them. You could live stream them, but they often don't have two-way communication because they're huge lecture classes. So you often can't ask questions live. Sometimes you can, but you could live stream it. These are, they're going to be happening Pacific time, California time, Tuesday through Friday. As soon as the class is finished, the recording takes a little while to process, and then it's posted on the learning management system, which is Canvas. Now, many of the courses will have, because we record these classes all the time, they may not have these lectures available, but they might have last year's lectures, they're 2 years ago, or certain pre-recorded ones the faculty did. So there may be other videos that are available at the beginning. And then, you will be, I saw there was a great question about deadlines, and maybe Petra, you can talk about deadlines in the professional course. But on the graduate side, these are 10-week quarter courses, right? So you're going to have deadlines every week, likely on problem sets, exams, project work. So you will be, it is a very intensive, it's just like a quarter. If you did a semester system, quarters are very fast. So it's a 10-week program. You're covering a lot of material. There'll likely be assignments due every single week. So it's a very fast-paced, intensive course, all of them. And again, they range a lot in how much time you spend. I saw a lot of good questions about individual courses. I'd encourage you to go to the individual course pages on our website. You can click. There should be a little button that'll take you to the AI graduate certificate or the professional course. Within that, you can see the courses that are part of it. Get more information there. And on many of the courses, the graduate courses, there will also be a link on the side to the course website. So many of these courses have public-facing websites. They will show past projects, they'll show past problem sets, they'll show the typical schedule, so you can get a really good sense of the pace of the course, of the projects that are involved. So another great question about, whether you could use these projects for GitHub. I think in both cases, yes, when there's a project in the professional program or the graduate program, not all of them have projects, but those projects often are things that people, people are proud to sort of add to their portfolio. I definitely know students who've turned some of their work into a paper that they deliver at a conference. I think that's true in both programs because this is rigorous, intensive stuff. So yeah, again, on the graduate program, intensive deadlines, right? It's happening live. You're going to have weekly deadlines. And yeah, so Petra, I'll hand it back to you. And there are a few more other questions that I'll try and answer after if you want to address any specific ones.
Yes. So I saw a few questions, many questions coming in, but let me kind of follow up on a few that I think might be very relevant for everybody. So when I showed you this list, we don't have a required sequence. So there were some questions about the sequencing of these courses. So you can really kind of mix and match as you would like. 2 things I would recommend though, if you're really new, like you have the right background, but you're still not sure, I would say that the first one is would be valuable to consider, the artificial intelligence principles and techniques. And again, as Pax mentioned, a lot of the materials are actually available for free online. So just do the research, like take a look, is this the right course for me? That's the sequencing. And the second thing I would mention, though not required, the second and the third course in this list, they are good to take after one another. So like first taking XCS 224 and NLP with deep learning, and after that taking XCS 224U natural language understanding. The reason is that the natural language understanding course is really focused on development of your original work. So you will be working on kind of informal bake-off competition, developing your original system. There is a project, and it will really be valuable if you already have a little bit more background in the field. So we see that maybe 60% of the people in the class take the XCS 224 and NLP first before taking the other one. But again, it's not a requirement. One more thing actually about the sequencing. Again, though not required, I would say the new course, the deep generative models, and also the deep multitask and meta learning, we see people taking it just as a one course or like starting with that, and they are fine. But I would say in general, it's really helpful if you already have some background in kind of the machine learning and understanding the subject. Again, I would recommend that you kind of take a look at the resources that are available online. We are not trying to hide them. We think they are actually helpful. And also, like I saw some questions about a scholarship or like if we kind of provide financial assistance. Unfortunately not, but we do have these resources available for you at Stanford University. So I would encourage you, go to YouTube, go like find the courses, find the materials. We do still believe that there is a high value of taking these courses, not for the money, but for kind of the support, accountability, for the additional kind of added value of the life goals, meeting the other students. Like there are so many other reasons that we can kind of mention about why it's worth like actually taking the courses. But I would say for those like who can afford it, or if you're like, I'm not sure which course, like I would recommend taking a look. Two more questions. Yeah, I saw maybe those will be quicker. Two more questions I noticed. Is it okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. In terms of, I can make the next iteration of the course, which is starting, you kind of name it. We run these classes multiple times a year, usually twice or 3 times a year. So you can definitely come back. They will be offered again. And one more question was about updating the content. So every time the graduate course runs, we talk to faculty and we talk to them about like what is needed to be updated. So for some of these, they are 2023 lecture materials. Some of these are 2022 because the faculty told us they are actually like, they are teaching the same content. Some of this content is so fundamental in its nature, like really going in a depth and breadth that we even have 2021, which might be surprising for some of you, but we are in very frequent communication with faculty. This is not like we are trying to put something old on the internet or like trying to charge you for something old. It's just like there was no update to the actual class. So this is what we have in the offering. But yeah, like we always talk about is we always try to at least include the guest lectures from the most recent offering. You can always reach out to us about kind of the class you're interested in, and we can provide you with more information. And I will pause, sorry, Pat, because those are the questions I saw kind of in the chat.
No,
and I thought might be helpful.
I see a specific one about the new deep generative models course, the CS236. So I would, first of all, I encourage you to go to the course web pages on our sites that will provide more information. You can also just Google CS236 Stanford and the graduate course website will pull up so you can see what is offered in the graduate course. That will not be a one-to-one what's in the professional course, and it may not be a one-to-one what's offered the next time the graduate course is offered, but it will give you a good sense of what material is covered, what the assignments are, at least in the credit-bearing version of the course. And there's a similar question about what is, again, kind of trying to get at what is the difference between these two. So one of the core differences between the professional, so the professional courses are based on the graduate courses, where we're taking the assignments and the lectures that happen in the graduate courses and we're adapting them for the professional course. It is largely the same material. Some of it may be, the way we sort of think about adjusting it is if the graduate courses are typically 15 to 25 hours, we're looking to make it 8 to 12 hours of work for the professional course. So we're trying to try and make it a little bit less intense. That happens on several levels. Sometimes we make, and Petra, you should jump in and add more detail here, but sometimes we'll make some of the material optional You're less likely, for instance, to have an exam. I don't think we have exams in the same way we do in the graduate courses. Maybe in some cases in the graduate course, there's a project. Maybe there's no project in the professional course. And so there are ways in which we're adjusting it. We're doing that with the faculty consultation to make sure that we're preserving the core learning goals. And then again, because the graduate courses are graded and you need to earn a B or better to get, to keep advancing, there's often more pressure on those in order to perform well, right? I mean, there's a lot more, you're getting sort of graded more rigorously. You do get a sort of, I think it's a pass, no pass in the professional program. So there is assessment at that level as well. The graduate courses, the teaching staff will be, the faculty member will be leading the class. Now, again, these can be really big classes, so it's not like it's easy to necessarily, if there are 800 people in the class, including on-campus and online students, it may not be easy to just put a time on to talk to the faculty member. But there will be extensive teaching assistants who are usually PhD and master's students at Stanford who will be going over the material, who will be working with the faculty member to support it, that will be grading and providing feedback on the assignments and holding office hours. For the professional course, the instructor will usually join for one sort of live office hours kind of or Q&A session. And in addition to that, we have staff that we hire are usually students who have completed the course, know the material well, have done well, and they're serving as course facilitators to help assess and provide feedback on assignments. So those are some of the core differences. Again, the material is going to be largely the same. It'll be slightly more intensive on the graduate side. I'll pause there and see, Petra, if you want to add anything more to the differences in that experience.
No, I think you covered it well. Again, pass, no pass, meaning 70% to pass.
We get some other questions about the master's degree, the Stanford master's degrees. So yes, some of those degrees are available online or part-time through what is called the Honors Cooperative Program at Stanford. I'd encourage you to join next, again, not this Friday, but the following Friday, February 23rd. We can go into more detail about that. The AI graduate certificate it largely aligns with the AI specialization in the CS master's degree at Stanford. So they're very similar coverage. Again, the master's degree, there are more courses you can take. So there are limitations. So for instance, the CS/MS degree, you have to be in the United States. They won't let you take it online. That's different for other master's degrees that are available online at Stanford. But I don't want to go into too much detail. We can address it next Friday. But yes, you can apply. You just apply to the same master's degree. And if you are admitted, you would elect to do it online part-time basis. That would allow you to do some of the coursework online or all of it in some cases. But again, not all the master's degrees in the School of Engineering are available to be completed fully online. And none of them have all their courses available online. So for instance, we have strong coverage of the CS master's degree, but not every single depth area within the computer science master's degree could be completed fully with online coursework. Nor, for instance, if you were interested in the artificial intelligence specialization within the master's degree, could you take any class that's within that specialization online, only the selection that we already offer online. Now, you're a matriculated master's student, so if you're local, you can do some of your coursework online and then do the other courses as you can in person. So there is a lot of flexibility there as well. And again, I encourage you, we can go in more detail next week. And maybe the last thing I'll mention is we got questions about industry-specific courses. So the courses that you see here are generally kind of high-level foundational courses on key aspects of artificial intelligence. As Petra mentioned earlier, we do have a lot of other programs that are more industry-specific. So we have professional programs around artificial intelligence in healthcare. If you're interested in credit-bearing or graduate-level courses, we also have a biomedical data science certificate, as well as an online, or part-time master's degree that provides sort of more healthcare-specific courses around these topics. And then again, we have plenty of classes in things like robotics, which are more kind of applied. And we offer other courses occasionally. So for instance, it's not open in spring, but it's happening right now this winter. We have a class in mechanical engineering on automated model discovery using machine learning and neural networks to kind of model soft matter. So I don't know, that might be too advanced and too applied and too specific, but there are other interesting classes that occasionally we have the opportunity to make available to online students. You do not need to, yeah, I see some other questions. It's here. We don't have a question. Go for it.
Yeah. For the professional program, there was a question about kind of expiration or like how many classes you need to take advance. You can structure it as you want. I would say it's generally kind of challenging to take more than one class at the same time, unless, it's, if you have a job and if you have a family and some other commitments, it might be a little bit harder, but I'm not saying it's not possible. We definitely have some people who take more, but there's no kind of expiration. So you can schedule your time as you want. Again, the classes are running 2 to 3 times a year. And, if you finish it in 6 months, great. If you finish it in 1 year, great. Like, it really depends on you.
I think, so I see questions about summer. You could, to take through to the professional program, I don't know if you need a bachelor's degree. I don't think you do. Is that correct, Petra? You just need to meet the prerequisites. For the graduate programs, you do need to have a conferred bachelor's degree at the time that you submit a request to enroll. There is summer session at Stanford, which is Stanford, being a big place, has many different ways to do these. So there are in-person classes that could be available through summer session on Stanford campus to undergraduates who do not yet have a conferred bachelor's degree during the summer. I would look up summer session for Stanford to see what those are. So I see the question about to get the AI graduate certificate, you would need to complete all the coursework within 3 years. Good refresher course in calculus. I think we have some really good resources. I think they're linked on the AI professional program or on the graduate. There's a course planning document on the AI graduate certificate page. We link to resources, refresher course resources. Another, and again, if you need like the probability refresher, CS 109, which is Stanford's probability for computer science, which you could also take as an online course, as a non-degree, through the non-degree option. Those lectures are also online, and they have a whole textbook that's freely available online, and most of the course resources and problem sets are available online, so that would also be a good place where you could go to take it. I see there are questions about the course schedule. The course schedule, so like CS 229 is not available this spring. It's not open for enrollment right now. It will likely be open for the summer and likely again in the fall. It depends on the department. Things change a lot. I don't know when the next offering for the professional program is. Petra could tell you that. So I would just, unfortunately, the credit-bearing schedule is a little bit up in the air because it changes a lot. The departments, people go on sabbatical, switch quarters, so it's hard for us to know for certainty a year out or even more than 1 or 2 quarters out what's going to be offered next. And then again, in terms of prerequisites, a lot of questions about prerequisites and whether I'd meet the prerequisites for the graduate. I don't make that determination. That goes to the department to take a look at it. I would encourage you to apply. If you've taken similar courses at another university, likely that would, my guess is they will consider that as meeting the prerequisite. And again, to a big extent, it will also be whether you feel ready for it, right? So you'll have that first week when you hit the AI graduate course running, and you'll see the first problem set. And if you're like, boy, I really need to refresh my linear algebra, maybe then you need to drop the course and go back and do a refresher. I did talk to one student who said she learned linear algebra while doing this at the same time. She said she did not recommend it. She did have a very strong math background, but I guess had never taken linear algebra. But yeah, so, it'll depend on you. I do not believe you need a degree to take courses in the AI professional certificate. Can you confirm that, Petra?
No degree. And there was a question also about kind of the application and how to be successful in that. The application is fairly short. We ask about your background, and we also ask about your experience and the ability to kind of if you have the right prerequisites. So we will want to see if you actually know Python. There's no Python code to write, but like, let us know, like, I've been coding in Python every day because I work in this and this, like, this is what I developed. The same for linear algebra probability review. If you took some STEM field graduate studies, it's very likely, but we need to kind of know from the application. We also get sometimes applications that just say yes. It's definitely not sufficient. We need a little bit more information to make the judgment, but at the same time, it should be fairly quick. Like, we are not requiring any transcripts or like any official test scores or anything like that. Response in the application is like, I'm great at this. Again, this is not the response that we are looking for. Like, we actually want to see what you are doing, so just as a joke.
We're getting questions about how they compare to other programs. I don't have a ton of insight into some of the other programs. There are a lot of other programs that are available out there. Again, I would say a good first, if you want to get a sense of them, I would just go to, both these programs that we're talking about are the professionals based on the graduate programs. The graduate is the graduate programs. So I would encourage, if you're still sort of trying to make the decision, again, go to the Stanford Online. So first of all, look at the course descriptions on our website at Stanford Online. Then go to Stanford Online YouTube and search for lecture materials, and you'll get to see the lectures in many of these courses, not all of them, but in many of the courses, machine learning, Introduction to Artificial Intelligence, Natural Language Processing, Natural Language Understanding, Deep Reinforcement Learning, Meta and Multitask and Meta Learning, Probability for Computer Science. There are a lot of course lectures that are available out there. I go take a look at those to see what the level is. And then I would search for the graduate course website. Almost all of these have almost all the AI, not all, but almost all have public-facing course sites for the actual course that happens on campus. And that will give you, and they often, in that course website, they'll have whatever the most recent offering was, as well as links back to previous offerings. So you can see, what is the project? They'll often have links to example projects, right? They'll often have, in many cases, the problem sets. If not, the solutions too will be available there. So you can you can take a look at them. You can take a look at what the workload is like. Some of them will have like a problem set 0 on the site saying like, look at this. Do you feel familiar with this? If no, then you probably, then you might need to do some refresher material. So I would just take a look at the material. A lot of it is already out there, and you can really do your research to get a sense of which course is going to be right for you. I don't personally have a background in artificial intelligence or machine learning, so I know I get a lot of questions about very specific sort of implementation level or application level, whatever questions. Not the best person to answer that. I would really go back to the websites for these courses and take a look at the kind of material that they're being offered. It's really it's out there. And I know we're getting close to time, so maybe Petra, if there's one more question you want to answer.
I think we covered majority of them. We apologize if we didn't get to yours specifically, but there was one question that I think might be relevant for graduate folks, and it's about exams if you are abroad, and like how to take exams, or like how does that work for you?
So again, I said it before, I encourage everyone to join the session if you're interested in the graduate programs on next Friday, February 23rd. We'll go into more detail about these kinds of logistics. But briefly, so the exams, if there's an in-person exam on campus, you will need to take the exam essentially in person. This is typically done through something like a testing center, which could be a local university or library, or a professional testing center, in which case you might have to pay an additional fee. Or if you're working and going into the office, a supervisor or an HR representative at your work can be nominated to deliver the exam in person. So we have a kind of a built-out exam process, but in many cases you would need to take the exam in person, being delivered by someone. We're at time. I want to thank everyone again for joining us, for all your excellent questions. A recording of this will be available in about a week in case you had to join late or you have someone else who's interested. We are having the event is I think we just posted maybe a link to the event for next Friday if you want to sign up. If you don't have that link, just go to Stanford Online, and at the bottom of the homepage you should see an event registration for that. So again, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much. And if you have any follow-up questions, I think you received an email address, a CPD information, and your emails and kind of on the page you registered. So don't hesitate to reach out to us if anything else came up. Thank you.